So yes, common misconceptions. Any of these fashions is not related to cosplay whatsoever. Most of the fashions are alternative in nature, so I guess the equivalent would be like gothic or punk here in the US. These are fashions that are worn by like a select few people who really have a passion for it and have money for it, because a lot of these fashions are pretty expensive. They're very expensive hobbies, but they're a lot of fun. Go ahead.
Yes, very expensive.
Okay, so first up, we've got Lolita fashion. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of Lolita fashion within it. I'll be touching on the main three right now. There's Sweet Lolita, Gothic Lolita, and Classic Lolita. So first up, I've got our Sweet Lolita models, Veronica and Danny. Yay! So Veronica is in the lavender and Danny's in pink. Veronica's wearing a dress by Metamorphose Tanfeil, which is a really long, weird, kind of not nonsensical French word. I don't know why they named their brand that, but anyways. We've got a cute little, it's called Cat Bubble Bath. So the thing about Sweet Lolita is that it has a lot of sweet motifs, whether it's candies, cakes, stuffed animals. Sometimes it's just pastel colors. It doesn't have to have a print, it can just be a light pink dress. And it's usually worn with like more hair accessories, bigger bows, candy-colored wigs. And the reason why I have two girls up here is because there's two very different kinds of Sweet Lolita. There's a very over-the-top look, which is what Veronica's wearing, where you tend to wear, I guess, candy-colored wigs, more hair accessories, just more accessories in general.
Everything.
Yes, more everything. It's over the top for a reason. Then we've got Danny, who's a more toned down Sweet Lolita. She's wearing a natural colored wig with a beautiful single head bow. And you can see here that there's like a lot of dynamic between the two different Sweet Lolita styles. And this is just one part of Lolita. So you can really have fun with it. The main fashion point with Sweet Lolita is making sure that there's an overall theme and color to your coordinates. Some of the other fashions I'll be bringing up later, you can have more flexibility with what colors you wear. But in terms of Lolita, you always kind of want to stick to the same color palette. The moment you combine like aqua blue with black and red, it starts to look a little weird and it's probably not Lolita anymore. So there you go. Thank you so much, girls. Next up, we've got Jenny, who's dressed in Gothic Lolita. Gothic Lolita lives up to its name. It uses a lot of darker motifs, lots of black crosses, but you do tend to see Gothic Lolitas in other colors. It's fairly common to see Gothic Lolita wearing all white. What tends to be the point of fashion with Gothic Lolita, though, is, again, cross motifs. There's more religious motifs on it. There's a beautiful Gothic Lolita print that has a crucifixion picture on it. So you tend to go for this more like religious, Gothic, kind of almost like prettier Hot Topic type of theme. She's wearing a cute little mini top hat, which tends to be more common in Gothic Lolita. Sometimes you see it in Classic. Lots of roses, again, dark colors. Some other girls wear round headdresses with lace on it. So that's another common thing. Thank you so much, Jenny. Next up, we have Jen, who's our Classic Lolita. Hello, Jen. Now, Classic Lolita is the most ladylike of all the fashions. It's very toned down. It's much more inspired by Rococo England and French fashion. Do you want to do a little turn so you can check it back? As you can see, she has like a beautiful bustle skirt, very reminiscent of more historical styles. The fashion tends to use more muted color palettes, beautiful florals. The most important difference between Classic Lolita and any of the other fashions, I see you is the shape of the skirt. As you can see, when Veronica and Danny were up on the stage, their skirts were very full and cupcake shaped, so they live up to their sweet name. In terms of Classic, it's more of an A-line shape, so she's actually kind of shaped like an A. So that's like one of the main differences between Classic Lolita. Lately, Classic Lolita has become a lot more over the top as well, with dresses that are covered with historical paintings. So it's really gorgeous and really beautiful. A lot of the girls tend to wear natural makeup and hair, toned down hair accessories, maybe with some more florals in it as well. and sometimes bonnets, like circular, like historical bonnets with like the big, like Downton Abbey type of thing. Like you can tend to see that as well. Thank you so much. So, I get to talk about myself now. So, Otome K, I wanted to talk about it right after Lolita because a lot of people can get it confused with Lolita, but it's basically kind of a more toned down Lolita. You tend to not wear poofy skirts. The sweet motifs are still there, but the overall look is more maiden-like and grown up. So a lot of the girls like don't wear too many hair accessories. It's much more toned down and it's much more like, I guess, new people friendly. Like it's very easy to get into it. You can definitely have a lot more fun playing with the colors in this fashion, which also makes it very different from Lolita. As you can see, one of the girls on the slide is wearing bright blue shoes with a brown dress. And if you look closely at her brown dress, there's actually little bits of blue in the print. So she was able to bring out that blue and kind of wow you with her shoes when the rest of the coordinates like very simple and toned down. Generally, solid colors are really popular with Otome K, but you tend to see lots of sweet, like chocolate, biscuit motifs and Alice in Wonderland motifs. So you'll see like card prints, just straight up pictures of Alice like falling down the rabbit hole. You tend to see more of that kind of thing in Otome K. Otome K literally means maiden, so you can take what you want from that. It's definitely like the older sister to Lolita, definitely. Dolly K. So we've got our Dolly K model, Brooke. Now Dolly K is a really, really decadent fashion. I wish I could have represented it a little better, but sadly I don't have enough, just quite enough for it. But Dolly K uses a lot of jewel tones, darker colors, lots of brocades and prints. Layer print upon print upon print, and you're probably getting closer to Dolly K. Like we have here, Brooke is wearing a really vintage purse that, can I show them? That has a lot of embroidery on it, made with copper, so that like adds a little bit of pop to the outfit. Now, Dolly K, again, a lot of people can say like, oh, it's just kind of like classic Lolita, or is it like gothic Lolita? The thing with Dolly K is like headpieces are more vintage inspired. You can wear pillbox hats, smaller bonnets, a lot more florals, or you can go absolutely crazy. I've seen girls in Dolly K that are actually wearing like old wooden ships on their head. So you can go absolutely insane. Dolly K is about looking like a doll, going above and beyond to create that kind of fantasy look and really layering the textures and brocades that are part of the aesthetic. So that's Dolly K. Next up we have Mori Girl, which is one of my personal favorite fashions. It literally means forest girl. So a lot of, it's supposed to kind of look like you live in a forest, but you're more fashionable. So Mori Girl has a lot of natural textures and colors, browns, creams, smaller floral prints. Like here I've paired her with a fawn collar, bringing in that kind of nature element. A lot of girls tend to wear like cute little like deer antlers, lots of flowers in their hair, and it's a layering heavy fashion, so it's not too Florida friendly. It's definitely one of those things where you want to wear another dress on top of another dress on top of a pair of pants on top of like a jacket or something. Like it's definitely something where you'll see a lot of girls go above and beyond with pairing their stuff. Ugg boots are actually kind of a staple of this fashion, although I wish it wasn't. So we've got that as well. And it's just a really cute, like natural fashion. And again, the takeaway for this fashion is you have to look like you just came out of the forest. That's really it. Just not as hobo-y, and you've got it. So like a prettier forest dweller that isn't hobo. That's Mori Girl. Yep, Mori Girl in a nutshell. Thank you, Desiree. Sadly, I don't have a Cult Party K model, so if you'd like, trying to decipher how it looks like on the PowerPoint. Cult Party K is defined by the use of vintage peignoirs. A peignoir is a vintage nightgown which has like a robe over it. So a lot of the girls wear the robe part of it, and it usually goes down to their feet. on top of lots of like natural cream colored clothing and accessories with like a little pop of red. The pop of red is like a more common way of pursuing like the Cult Party K look, but I've seen Cult Party K worked with black, blue, any color really. I think the main fashion point for it is just making sure you have like the lovely K noir. I think you can kind of see it in the second photo. The girl's wearing a long, like, floor-length one. In the third photo, this girl's actually kind of just wearing a big petticoat and a really pretty, like, embroidered top with, like, a scarf on top of it. So, Cult Party K comes in a lot of shapes and sizes, but you really just want to differentiate it from Mori Girl, where there's not as many nature motifs. It's just more like cream with a pop of color. That tends to be more of what Cult Party K is. I'm sad that I don't have a model, because again, it's another one of my favorite fashions. So Fairy K, I have my lovely Sai over here. She's a little shy. So Fairy K is probably one of the most pastel and colorful fashions out of the mix, aside from Sweet Lolita. It's a lot of the little fashion points of it is pairing vintage items with lots of soft tulle. The easiest way to do it is to get a really pretty, cute pastel top that maybe has like sugar hearts on it or something like cutesy, and pairing it with a petticoat. You can find a lot of like really pretty candy colored petticoats from like eBay and stuff. You just pair the two with tights that have another cute candy motif. These ones have little gummy bears and like those little like candy bracelets and all those kinds of things on it. Really, all you want to do is just make sure it's pastel overload. If there's too much black in it, you're probably not in Fairy K anymore. So you just want to make sure you look like a little fairy. It's a pretty straightforward fashion. One of the main brands that gives the Fairy K aesthetic is Nile Perch and Spank. And both of them definitely play with vintage Barbie fabrics a lot. So you see a lot of like the old like hearts from like the 80s and stuff like that layered on the clothes. But yes, that's Fairy K. Thank you. I just wanted to hold it. Pop K, again, is very close and similar to Fairy K, except you tend to use more neon colors. A lot of the girls seem to have a lot more fun with their hair too. As you can see here, a lot of these girls have like hot pink, bright purple hair, dreadlocks, a lot of braids. They go above and beyond to really exude that like bright look. With Pop K, again, it's a fashion that really doesn't need a color family. You can wear whatever the heck you want as long as it has pop. It really lives up to its name in that sense. Pop K is a little weird because it's not really a fashion in the sense where you could probably walk up to another Japanese girl and be like, oh, you're wearing Cult Party K, and like she'd probably understand what you're saying. But if you said Pop K, she'd be like, I guess. Like, Pop K doesn't really have like a defined style. It's more defined by the really bright colors of your hair and accessories and clothes. So Visual K. I know Visual K tends to be much more popular in the West. Like, a lot more people have heard of it because it tends to be worn by a lot of alternative rock bands in Japan. Visual K is very much a performance art. It's about looking head to toe like you've come out of a movie or a play or something like that. The hair is usually like sky high, lots of different colors, and there's grungier aspects to it. You tend to see like the safety pins come out. More like the whole like trip pant kind of look, lots of black with like hints of like plaid or like brighter colors. Visual K is a lot like Pop K in that sense where it's a little hard to really pinpoint how it looks. The best way is to look at pictures and to try and figure out what you tend to like. And a lot of the Visual K and Pop K brands tend to overlap sometimes. One of my favorites is Takia Angel. It makes a lot of different things for both of those different looks. Punk. Now, punk, again, it's a very familiar fashion here in the US because a lot of people like to think about the anti-government kind of anarchy punk. And it's definitely a lot like that, just with more of a Japanese spin on it. You tend to see the cuter cupcake-shaped petticoats come out maybe with like a plaid print. Sometimes you'll see like a cute like schoolgirl look, but with like a grungier like safety pin kind of aesthetic to it. So it's punk, but it also has more of a Japanese flair. You kind of see the other fashions that I've spoken about kind of show up, but like you're definitely looking at them and thinking like they're punk, right? So that's kind of why I wanted to touch base on punk. It's not really something that's extremely popular there, but at some point in like the early 2000s, it really enjoyed a resurgence. Next up is gyaru. Sadly, my gyaru model couldn't make it today, but gyaru is really defined by, it's more of a sexy fashion. It tends to have short jean shorts, crop tops, but the big thing that makes gyaru different from, I guess, what you would normally see walking around the mall is their hair and their makeup. That is extremely important for a gyaru. They'll have big hair, it's almost always dyed. I very rarely see a gyaru with black hair. You'll always see a gyaru with a lighter blonde hair, like a honey gold color. The makeup is extremely important because they'll wear something called circle lenses, which are lenses that enlarge your eye, and they're usually a false color. So sometimes they'll be green or like pink or other colors like that. They also wear really large false eyelashes, and what I mean by large is not lengthwise, but like actual width-wise, they're longer, because what they'll try to do is they'll have the eyelash go past their eye to create the illusion that their eyes are even bigger. They'll use white eyeliner and white eyeshadow under their eye to just make it look like their pupils or their actual, like, I guess their eyes are just bigger in general. And that's what really defines gyaru. A lot of people can say that, well, isn't gyaru kind of like everyday fashion? That's what brings it above and beyond. It's spending like the hours on your hair and makeup, teasing your hair up really high with lots of curls and light colors. There's also, if you look at the second picture on the PowerPoint, there's a type of gyaru called hime gyaru, which loosely translates to princess girl, and that tends to be that tends to feature a lot of like pink and florals, and they'll wear little tiaras. So that's like probably the only like subset of gyaru that really seems to stand out. There's just different variations of it. Some of them are sexier, like one gyaru, which is like big sister gyaru. There's others that tend to be more cutesy and like everyday looks as well. Well, we're short on time, but I just wanted to quickly say, talk about Tokyo Real Clothes. It's basically types of cute fashion that you tend to see worn by most girls in Japan. It's a little different from what you see in the US. Lots of like soft, like fluffy skirts, lots of chiffon and pastels. In Japan, generally a lot of girls in the more fashionable areas of Japan tend to play more with color than they do here in the US. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. There's some pictures of them, the girls wearing it there. I also want to go over kimono. Kimono, again, is a more traditional style, but this is more of the contemporary side of kimono. It plays more with patterns, bright colors. The hair isn't traditional, like lacquered, like geisha type of hair. It's more of the hairstyles that you'll see in other fashions. A lot of girls tend to mix gyaru hair fashions with kimono, and that's one way to contemporary wear kimono. And then there's cosplay fashions. Again, I was going to have a model for this, but sadly she's not able to make it. But I loosely say cosplay fashion because there's really no better word for them. They tend to be fashions that I guess more people see as a costume, and a lot of the people that dress in the other fashions tend to wear like on the side sometimes, and they want to be like more comfortable. And it's also just something that's not popular enough to really have its own like name or movement like the other fashions. The first picture is kigurumi, which are like little like full-length pajamas. They're basically big onesies, but they're modeled after like popular characters. So you can buy Pikachu onesies, Stitch from like Lilo and Stitch onesies. Sometimes you can just get like weird animals, like you can get like a dinosaur or dragon onesie, and basically they're just like these big like comfy fleece pajamas. You wear a lot of accessories with it, and you just do whatever you want, and you just goof off. The second style is actually a subset of gyaru. It's called ko-gyaru, which is basically just schoolgirl fashion with the gyaru hair. And the last one is basically like maid style. There are actually stores that are like explicitly there to supply like a good like maid outfit and like a good maid look. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a fashion, which is kind of why it's like here in like the last couple slides. It's just something that's definitely there in Japan, but I don't think a lot of girls go around saying like, oh, like I dress like a maid like every day. Like, that probably doesn't happen. Whereas with other fashions, you can meet girls that do say, I wear Dolly K every single day. I wear Lolita every single day. And then a quick talk about the evolution. A lot of times when you like Google search a lot of these fashions, you find pictures from like 2003, and they're already extremely out of date. If you look at the PowerPoint, the first picture on your left is a picture circa 2001 of Lolita fashion. It's a black dress with white lace. That, if you wear it now, usually doesn't look too stylish. A lot of girls will be like, why are you wearing this? Or a lot of people will think you're cosplaying as like some other character. It's not that popular, it's very hard to pull off nowadays. And what you see now, more of now, is the kinds of fashions that I brought up onto the stage. Like you'll see the sweet and gothic and classic Lolita look more often. And then there's the dead fashions. Now some of them have been enjoying a little bit of like a resurgence, but the first one, which is the one on the left again, is called Decora, which again a lot of people probably heard about here. It got pretty popular in like the mid-2000s here. Decora is when you wear like a lot of plastic clips in your hair and bright colors. It's kind of what Pop K eventually, or it's like old Pop K. Decora eventually evolved into it. It's very rarely seen. There's like one or two girls that do happen to wear it once in a while who are trying to bring it back, but generally you don't see it too often. There's also Manba, which is basically turned into Kudo Gyaru, which is a gyaru with darker skin. Manba featured like the extremely stark white lipstick, the white like nose line, extremely over the top makeup, and like going so far as like putting like feathers in your hair. It's really not like that anymore. Again, Kudo Gyaru brings some of it back with the extreme tanning and some of the makeup, but no one wears like the white lipstick anymore. It's kind of seen as a faux pas. There's some Western applications to some of the styles that tend to not really picked up in Japan. A lot of people like to mix steampunk with Lolita, so I have some examples of steampunk over there. They'll like wear pocket watches, they'll wear more brown, they'll wear like the little goggles. A lot of people can argue that this isn't true steampunk, because steampunk's supposed to be grungy, so it really depends on your take on it, but I just thought I'd touch on that. Now, if for people who are wanting to get into the fashion, there's really only so much I can say about how you should wear it. Always do your research before you wear any of these fashions, because sometimes, again, doing something as simple as wearing like white lipstick suddenly turns you from like looking like a cute gyaru to looking like what are you trying to do? Are you cosplaying type of thing? So you really want to show respect for a lot of the people that dress in these fashions. It's not something you can wear once and say like, oh, I was a gyaru for Halloween. It's not that kind of thing. A lot of these girls really do take it seriously, really do want it to be a part of their lives, just like anyone else would want their clothes to be a part of them. So just do your research, be respectful, but have a lot of fun with it. Like, you don't have to go by the book all the time. Like, you can think about, in fact, I think almost all these girls are wearing Lolita dresses, but they're just styled differently to look like the other fashions. So you're welcome to try anything like that. But just make sure you do your research. I have a lot of magazines that you're all welcome to come and look at after the panel is over, and just peruse to try and get an idea of what each fashion kind of looks like. And where to learn more. So I have a whole bunch of like shop lists and stuff that my lovely friend Veronica put together out to everyone, so you can see the different stores to buy different fashions. A lot of these fashions are only available in Japan. So you need to use a shopping service to buy them. You can go on to the next one. Oh, haha, wait. But before you buy anything, I want you all to learn the mantra. Go for it. Say no to Milanu. Say no to Milanu. Say no to Milanu. I've heard some people get like okay wigs from there, but you can probably get better wigs for cheaper somewhere else anyways, so just don't do Milanu. Milanu always comes up first on like most search engines because they pay Google to like put their store up near the top, and they have like a lot of sock puppet stores like yourlolitadress.com. Like there's like tons. Basically, they steal other brands' stock photos and say that they'll make you the same dress. But what they send you instead is a rectangle with some lace on it. You can Google bad reviews of Millennium. It is horrible. There was this poor girl who thought she ordered this pretty pink dress with like purple bows on it, and the bows were just like there. I don't even think you can call them bows. They were cardboard. They were cardboard. Don't buy from Millennium. They like you can. There's so many. Again, if you want the link list, there's so many other stores that sell cheap clothing that you can go to that'll actually give you like what's worth your money. Don't buy from Millennium. A lot of the reviews from Millennium are their sock puppets saying like, "Oh, Millennium's great," but it's totally their employee just posting it. Like, just don't. Like, just remember that. Say no to Millennium if you're ever gonna get into Japanese street fashion. So how to buy, I kind of went over this briefly. You need shopping services to buy from a lot of these places. A personal favorite of mine is Japanika Market. Basically, you go onto a Japanese website, say like, oh, I really like these pairs of shoes, and send them the link to the shoes with like the size and the color you want. They'll tell you if it's in stock, and they'll charge you for them, buy them for you, and then just mail them to you. So the thing with shopping services is that you basically pay double shipping. You have to pay for shipping within Japan and then the shipping from Japan to you. So that gets a little frustrating. And then on top of that, they charge a shopping service fee. Like after all, they are a business. Japanika Market's probably the cheapest, which is why I'm recommending it. I believe they have 9 or 10% commission right now, when a lot of other stores do 15 to 20%. So generally, you have to use a shopping service. A lot of the Japanese brands have been opening up to overseas, though, because they're aware of how many people around the world are getting into Japanese street fashion. So it's become like much easier. I think I started in the fashion in like 2002, and I had to make everything by hand. I had people commission stuff for me. My coordinates were pretty awful. Like it was just hard to like find anything that really screamed the fashion. But in 2009-ish on, it exploded. A lot of the major brands opened up stores overseas. There's even like a physical store for one of the major Lolita brands, Angelic Pretty, in San Francisco. So it's become a lot easier to get a lot of these fashions, and it's a big reason why I think people see more girls dressed up in Japanese street fashions overseas now. So yes, this will lead into the link list. You can buy from all over the place. There's really good sellers both in Korea and China. I had my Dolly K model was wearing a Korean brand. A lot of these places also have Facebook like pages where you can do reserves through them. And that's the end. I always try to leave a little bit of time at the end so everyone can come by and say hello. I'll have my models all come up on stage, so you guys are welcome to talk to them, take pictures with them, whatever you like. Again, the magazines are up here for all of you guys to peruse through. I just kindly ask for you to handle them gently. A couple of them are very old, so they're falling apart at the edges. And that's it. If you're interested in the link list, I'll bring up the Excel spreadsheet immediately, and you can enter your email address with your name, just so I can be polite when I send you the email. And I'll go ahead and send you out like all the links you need to get started in the fashions yourself. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for coming out. And I can also take questions if anyone has any questions about mine.
I was like, why?